Hello there guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we are going to look at how to use Laravel, in other words how to get started with using Laravel. So in this tutorial we're going to look at how to get started installing Laravel, and as well the basic fundamentals of Laravel. So we're going to look at in this tutorial. So alright, so let's get started. Now the first thing I want us to do is to install Laravel. And as you can see, I've already opened my VS Code, which is this one. But you can use any editor of your choice, but I would highly recommend VS Code. So now we're going to get started by installing Laravel, as you can see. So I'm using Laravel 8 is what we're going to look at, and this is how we can install Laravel. Now there are different ways of installing Laravel, but I'm going to be looking at how to install Laravel using the composer, which is the easier one. So now that means you need to have downloaded the composer so that you can get started using it. It's basically easy. You just need to download it, and once you download it, you need to connect it with your PHP. In other words, you also need to have your XAMPP. You also need to have a XAMPP or another particular panel that is installed, either one, but XAMPP would work well. Alright, so this is how we are going to do it in this tutorial. So let's get started by installing Laravel. So the first thing I would want us to do is to have this command, and we're going to install just using this command. So let's go to VS Code. Now in VS Code I'm using git to run my command in this particular terminal here. So that means that you also need to have git installed as well. So that is important. Alright, so let's get started. As you can see now, I'm already in a particular folder structure that is in XAMPP htdocs. So so what you need to know here is that you may need to have a particular place that you have installed your XAMPP, and then within that XAMPP we have a folder that is created. In my case, I'm already having in XAMPP htdocs. That's where I'm going to install my Laravel app. Alright, so what you need to do here, you need to have this command. So let me just copy that command, and then just need to click. That is, you just need to paste, and then now here you need to, so let me rename this. So I'm going to give it something like Laravel 8 app. Alright, so I'm going to give it like that. So it's just Laravel 8, and then now here I'm going to hit enter so that you can start installing the Laravel. Okay, there's an error here. I think, okay, this one should not be this way. This one should be one word. Sorry about that. So let me just run the command again. So this one should be like that, Laravel 8, and then you just hit enter that way. Alright, so this is now installed. So now the Laravel has been installed in my local machine. So what I need to do here, I just need to go to htdocs app. So what I'm going to do here, let me just that is, I should open it using the VS Code. Alright guys, so now this is the particular folder structure for my Laravel app. So as you can see, this is how you'll be presented with the Laravel. And with the Laravel, the first thing you'll have is the app and the other particular files, folders with particular files within them. So for example, we have the app. The app is where we have for example, we have the HTTP, which defines the controllers for application. We are going to learn about this as we continue. The middleware for authentication and all that. And as well, we also have, for example, some of the important features you need to know as you are getting started is the resources, where we have the views. You can define your views. For example, right now we have the view welcome, which is going to be the default page that is going to appear once we run this particular application. So this is how you get started. As well, we also have the routes. So we have your CSS where you can define your styles, as you can see. So for example, here we have the app.css. Now this app.css stands for the particular CSS that comes installed. Okay, the way you can install your CSS as well. Laravel also supports different frameworks, for example Bootstrap, Tailwind, and so forth. So we are also going to look at this one as we continue. Now let's get started with something here. So now the first thing I want us to do is to get started with using routing in Laravel 8. So now this is what we are going to do here. So the first thing here, let me change this one to the git bash and let me show you something. So we are going to get started by using the Laravel 8 routing. So the first thing we're going to look at is the basic Laravel route with controller, parameter, resource, and post. So this is what we're going to look at in this tutorial. Now, what is routing? Routing is simply the path in which Laravel provides for you once you define, for example, a view or a blade or any other particular file that you need to have needed to have a route. So in my case here, routes are defined within the routes folder, and then within the routes folder we have the API. This is the one that defines the API routes for your application if you are making an API. Now the basic one that you need to get started with is the web.php, which defines the routes for your the web interface as well, that is in the web.php. So let's get started with using web.php. Now web.php extends this particular class, as you can see, facades route, and as well it only returns the welcome page. That is the one I just showed you. The welcome is a view, so this is the view that is being returned within this route. So in other words, if we are going to run our application php artisan, so this is the command that we use to run. So let's open this application. So this is what you'll be presented with once you install your Laravel application. So now you can see the Laravel is now installed in our local machine. All right, so this is good to go. So what we need now to know here, we now need to start with the first one, which is the basic routing in Laravel. Now the first thing you need to know here is that this particular route returns this view, which is the welcome page. Now within the welcome page, within this particular route, or within the routing in Laravel, you can even also return a string, for example. So this means that, for example, here, since we are returning this particular view here, we can also return a string instead of returning the particular view. So let me just show you using an example. So this one, for example, if I copy this one and let me just paste it here. So what I may want to do here is that let me just comment this one out for now, and let's return something here, since I'm also going to use it again. So here, instead of returning the view welcome, I can also return, instead of returning a view, I can also return, for example, something like hello world, like this, and then let's end with that. So that means now this is the slash is the root, it's the particular root folder where we are now going to get the particular the particular path to what we are going to return. So here we are just returning this. So once we check again here, now remember this one is not going to return the particular view since we have removed it. So this is what we are returning. So now this is the starting of it. Now another thing here, let's continue. Now we can also return a particular endpoint within our application. For example, now instead of returning the root here, since it's only returning the root, that is the local host. So what we can do here is that now using this one is the return, that is the return hello world. So let me just copy this one. I can also return the particular endpoint and an endpoint. For example, let's say, let me give this one something like greeting, like this. So this one is, now we are going to get from the root, and then here we are going to get greeting, and then now we can return what we want. For example, hello world is good. So we will be returning this particular string. So here we'll return. So if I go to /greeting, as you can see here, I'm also going to return the particular string here. So we are using an endpoint, and the particular endpoint is returning for us the particular same string. So now this is just the basic on how to use routing in Laravel. So let's just continue advancing. Now the next one is we're going to look at is how to use a route with a controller. Okay, so now a route with a controller. What is a controller? A controller is basically a particular functionality that handles that you are able to create functions that are able to render particular views and as well routes within your application. So now we're also going to look at controller as we continue. So now, since you're going to use a route with a controller, what you need to do here, we are going to, let me click Ctrl+C to destroy this server. Let me just clear this. So now here, what I'm going to do, since I'm using a route with a controller, I'm going to use a command for creating a controller. Now this is the command that we use to create a controller: php artisan make controller, and then let me give this name user controller, and it's good to give them in the particular format I'm giving so that you can know how to use them well. So php artisan make controller user controller. So now let me just click this enter. It's going to create a particular controller here. So now this controller is created successfully. Okay, so now let me just clear this. It's good just to work with some. Okay, so now this controller is normally created within the HTTP controllers. So here, this is the controller that is created. Now you can see this controller extends controller. That is the controller class. So that's where the controllers are extended from. All right. So now this is the controller that we start making. Now within this controller, I'm going to return a view here. Now a view is simply what you see within any particular web page. So this view is, I'm going to create a function here, and this function, I'm going to call it public function, and then public function that is index, for example, and then here I'm going to create something that is, I'm going to return the view as I've just said. So I'm going to return a view user. Let me close that one. So now this is a view I'm going to return. Now since I'm returning this view, I'm going now to the routes, and I'm going to make a route that is going to return the particular view. But since I've made a view, now I also need to make a blade template. Now what is a blade? We're also going to look at blades as we continue. For now, just get to know that a blade is what is the views, is where you make the views, and then we're able to return the particular view. So here I'm going to make a view here, which is going to be, that is a blade template. It's going to be user blade.php. So what do we need to return in this view? I can return anything with this particular blade. So the first thing I would like to do is, let's say for example I'm going to return an HTML template here, for example. So let's say this is what I'm going to return. within this particular view, for example. So let me just save this one and let's go back to the web.php. Now within the web.php, let me make a route for that particular blade that I've just made there. So now what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to make a route, and this route, for example, let me just copy one of these. So here I'm going to make a route. Now this route is going to get the particular view that I've created, which is the user. So instead of having greeting here, remember we have already talked about this, so the endpoint here will be /user. Now I do not need this function and as well. So what I need here, now I also don't need to return anything since the controller is already returning. So what I need to do here is that I need to have the user, and then I'm going to have the particular controller that I've created, so which is that one. So I just need to have a colon here, so the controller, and then we are now going to return the controller at index. In other words, we are referencing this particular controller within our web.php. So here I'm going to have user controller at index, and then from here I just need to close this like that, so we do not need this. So I'm returning user controller, that is and then at index. So this is what we are doing, and then let me close this with that. Okay, so now this is done, so we can just save this one. And what we need to do here, for example, within our particular blade, we can return anything we want. So here I can say something like welcome to your user page, like that, and let me just close this like that. So this is what we should be presented with once we load this particular view, like that. So remember, it is the controller here that returns the view. The view is what we have made here, the user, and then now the route is going to get the user, that is the view, and then within the reference of the user controller is going to return what it's there. So now here, what we need to do here, I think I had done something here, so I just need to run this again, php artisan serve. Okay, so let's just go to the URL. I think, okay, let me just take that one out. All right, now this is loaded. So now what I need to do here, I just need to have the endpoint, which is now the user, which should be able to return for me the particular view that I need here. Now you can see there's an error here which says target class user controller does not exist. Now this one means that the route may be wrong here, that's why it's still not able to get the particular class. Now this one is a change in Laravel 8.5 as we are with what we are looking at, so that means that there's a change in terms of how we give the routing in Laravel. So here what I need to do here is that I need to put it in the Laravel 8 format that has been introduced so far. So here I need to locate the app, and then from the app I need to have the HTTP, and then HTTP / the controllers. So I'm giving a path from the app, the HTTP, the controllers, then at index. So let's see again once I load this particular route. All right, you can see now the particular view has been returned with welcome, that is welcome to a user page, as we had already made. So guys, now this is how we get started using routing with controller. All right guys, so now let's look at routing with a parameter. So now let me take this server let me kill this server. So let me destroy that server and let me just clear this. So now what we're going to do here is that we're going to make a post controller that is going to return a particular ID over a particular post. So since we had already made a particular controller here, so let me just edit this and make a post controller for a blog. So controller, that is make post controller, like that, and let me click enter. So now this controller is created. So let me just clear this. So now we have a post controller here, just below with the user controller. Now this post controller extends the controller as well. So now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make a public function like this. So this public function is going to have a function show. Now this show is going to return, we're going to pass it an ID, since it's the one that is going to return the particular ID of the post. So here I'm going to say return post, and then I'm going to give it the ID. Let me just do it in small caps like this, and then a colon there, and then the dot, which is going to represent, that is the ID of the particular post, like that. So I'm returning the post ID with this one. Let me give it a space there, with the ID. So what is going to do here is going to reference the particular ID that I'm going to give for the particular post. So that is what is happening in the post controller. Now let's go back, because we are dealing with the routing. So remember, we are looking at route with parameter. So what is route with parameter? Now route with parameter is what I'm going to give so as to reference the post ID. So what I'm going to do here is that, let me just copy this particular route, since I already made it. So I'm going to use this one. Now since here we are not going to get the user, but you're now going to get a particular post. Now that means I need as well to have a post blade or a view that is going to return the particular post. So within the views, I'm going to create a post.blade.php like that. So I'm going to create that particular blade, which is now going to return. So it means that here my endpoint is now going to be the post like this, and then here I'm going to reference at shows. Remember, I've created the show here within the post controller, right? So this is going to return this particular at show within the post. Now since I've already made a post controller with the show ID, because I want us to return a post ID of a post, so what I'm going to do here is that this is now what we refer to as a route with parameter. I'm going to give a slash here and then a bracket here, so this should be closing, and then I'm going to reference the ID of the particular post, which is now being returned from the at show functionality. So this is what is happening here. So let me just save this one. So we are returning the post slash post with the ID, and then like this. So for example, that is within the post blade, I can as well have the HTML code and have something like an H1 here, and let's say this, this is the blog post, this is the blog page, for all the post like this, and then I'm going to close like that. So this is what is going to be rendered on the web page, and then the route here is going to give, so once we give a particular ID of the post, it's going to be returned likewise. So let's check this. So now here, let's get out of the user, and now let's go to the post. Now for example, if I go to /post, I'm going to be presented with something. Sorry, here I need to restart my server again. Alright, so now this is good to go. So let me refresh again. So guys, so now this is how you give it. So I'm giving, for example, /1, which should be able to give me, but now I'm getting this error. Sorry guys, so what we need to do here to avoid this error is that I not change this one to post controller. So that is just a small error there. So this one should be post controller like this, and then let me just save, since we are referencing this particular controller. So let me just restart it again. As you can see, now we have the post ID. So that means, for example, if you give any particular post ID here, it's going to reference that particular post ID. So if it's 9, it's going to give 9. But now if I go to the without the ID of the post, for example, should give me this particular page here, the post blade, which says this is the blog page for all the posts likewise. Sorry, this is not found since we are referencing the ID of a particular post, but we are not returning the post as we did with the user, but we are going to return it as we continue. So just know this is how we make a route with a parameter. So lastly, what you're going to make here is the route with a resource, and as well a route with a post, but we are going to look at the route with the source. Now the route with the source simply means, for example, now here we have one function, but let's say you are making a blog which has particular CRUD functionality, the create, read, delete, update, store, and so forth. Now you may need to want to have a route which references a particular resource. So that's what we refer to as a route with a resource. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to delete this particular controller here. So I'm going to take this one out. So let me just delete this one like that. Since that one is done, let me come back to the server again. So what I'm going to make here is, now I'm going to make a controller here. I don't know if this command is still there. I think it's still there. So I'm going to make a PHP artisan make controller, that is the post controller again, but now this time I'm going to make it with a resource. In other words, I'm going to give this -- a resource. So now what it's going to do is going to make a post controller with all CRUD functionality that you find in a blog. Okay, now this is created successfully. So now let's navigate to the newly created post controller. Now you find that it's different from the one we had just created. Now this one has all the CRUD functionality, the index, the create, where we are going to store our post, as well the show, the edit, and the update as well. So now this is what we refer to as a route, referencing a route that is a route with a resource, and the resource is, for example, the post controller we have just created. Now for example, let's go back to the show where we had just done the post ID. So remember here I had given a particular code like this. So let me just paste what we had before like that. So now remember, this one was returning the ID of the post, just like we did. Now we are also going to populate these other ones as we continue advancing in this particular series. So here, what we now need to do is to make the route, is now to check to see the route with the resource. And what we're going to do here is that I'm going just to copy this, and I'm going to paste here. So what I'm going to do here is that now, instead of having this post with the ID, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to eliminate that one. Now, instead of referencing an individual particular function here, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to give it, that is route, and then instead of get here, I'm going to give it a route resource, like this. So what this means is that now it's going to run everything that you're going to create here. For example, if you're going to return a particular post, if you're going to navigate to the create page for creating a particular post, as well as storing particular post that is you have created, editing, and as well updating, and as well deleting. So you do not need to create individual functions to perform all these particular tasks. So I can delete this one, since remember it was referencing the show. Since we are now using the route resource, it's going to do all this particular work. So this is so in other words, now when I save this and go, now let's, okay, now you can see this is now it's now referencing the post. Now we need to return this particular view. Sorry, I'd forgotten to return this, so that's why it is the 404 not found, since this view is not being rendered. So what I'm going to do here is that so within the index here, so I'm going to return a view. So this is what it's going to be the post blade. So this is what we are returning in this particular view. So let me reload this again and let's see. So now you can see the page is now being rendered, which has this is the blog page for all the posts. So right guys, so that is now the route with the resource, the route, and then you give the resource. So far we have looked at the basic route functionality. Now lastly, I told you about route with the post. Now route with the post, we are going to check it as we continue, because this is now the route with the post is the one that is used in submitting data. For example, you may have a contact form in your app that takes input from a user and submits it to a mail server. So that is now, this is where the route post is going to be used. So we are going to check as we continue. What is a middleware? As I've explained, it's just a way of inspecting and filtering your HTTP request. In other words, it's just authenticating your user when he interacts with your application. So we're going to look at authenticating particular routes and also using a custom middleware in Laravel 8. And before that, I'll need to, now in this application I have not installed the authentication functionality, that is the login and registration. So let me just start by doing so. So in your terminal command here, I'm going to install Laravel UI. So let me click this enter and let me install the Laravel UI. Alright, so now this is installed. So now the next thing is that I'm going to run another command, that is php artisan UI, and then I'm going to UI view and then out, so that it can now install, or it can scaffold my authentication in my Laravel app. So, all right, now since this has been generated, so now the next thing here is that as it says, run npm install and npm run them. So this is going to be well, let me just copy this so that we may just go fast. So I'm going to run both of them at the same time, and let's let it run the npm install. Now this one will compile your CSS and all the required assets, so that you can so that now the full application is fully installed. Okay, now since this is done, so the next thing here is saying that I need to run the npm, that is, please run mix again. That means now, since we have already installed the out, so I just need to run the npm run dev again, so that it can compile and mix my CSS and all that. So let this one run. All right, now since this is successful, so we have the Laravel mix, that is 6.0.25, and it has compiled all the JS and the CSS files. So we are now ready to go. So what now we need to do here is that we need to know that our login and registration page has been installed in our application. So what I need to do here is, let me run the PHP artisan serve so that you can start my application. Okay, let me open this application. So this is only returning this particular page, that is the string. Now what we need to do here is that now when I navigate to my login page, I should be presented with something here. So now this is what I'm presented with. So I have the login page and the registration page. That is, now we are now good to go with this one. So now what I need to do is that, now let's check the first thing we are going to do here. Since we have discussed what is middleware, now we are going to discuss about authenticating particular routes. So this means that a user can't access a particular route unless he or she is authenticated. So let's check this in our application. Now you can see here I'm returning the route user and the route resource, that is post, which goes to the post controller. Now we can start by applying middleware in these two particular routes, so that whenever, if let's say for example in my application here, I try to go to the user, so you can see, so it's just taking you to the user page, but there's no authentication whatsoever as well in the post. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to apply a particular middleware route, and this one is going to be route group, and then I'm going to have this like that. So this is going to be middleware, and then this is going to be that way. Now here I'm going to have a function like this. So the function is this way, and then let me take this one out, should not be there, and then we're going to have like that. So now this one should not, so now these two routes should be in this particular middleware that I've given like this. Okay, so now this one I should close it in that way. All right, so this is how it is. So now what we are doing here is that within this particular two routes, I'm applying a route group which is authenticating the particular routes. Now remember, we have installed the Laravel UI, which comes with the authentication. So I'm now authenticating this routes, as you can see. Okay, so now let me try to refresh this again and let's check. See, now you can see the particular route is already now authenticated. If I try to go to the post, same thing is going to be applied on all these particular routes, as you can see here. So now that means that it is already authenticated. So as you can see, it's taking me back to the login page. Alright, so now this is how we do it. So now you need to know here that every time you include a middleware in any page, the user will have to be authenticated to access the particular page. Now the other one is that let's look at the custom middleware. Now what is custom middleware? Custom middleware involves, it's a middleware that can be applied on, you can apply it on any particular page, but now it will not come with the default Laravel one that like this one is defaultly within Laravel, whereby once you apply the middleware out, it will just be applied defaultly. Now when we go to the, let's navigate to this particular file called the kernel.php. So kernel.php defines for us 3 types of routes. Now you can see here the applications global HTTP middleware stack. So these are middleware running during every request to application. So now we have 3 types of middleware. We have the global level, the route level, that is the global, the group. So you have the middleware groups, as you can see, and then as well you have the route middleware. So now, for example, you can see this one is already defaultly applied, which is the authentication middleware. For example, the way we have just done in our particular application, we also have, for example, password confirmation. So this is the route middleware that, for example, we have applied in our application, as you can see. So now here you can also give a custom middleware as such. So now let's quickly do that. So I'm going to run a command here that creates a custom middleware. So let me just destroy that server. Let me just clear this. So here I'm going to create a PHP artisan. So this should be make middleware. And then I'm just going to give it a particular name, just a random name. But remember, once you are doing this in a live application, you will want to do it in a more fancier way. So PHP artisan make middleware, test middleware. Let me click hit that enter and let it create the middleware. Now this has been done successfully. So what we can do here is that now once this has been created, now I need to register this particular middleware. So once you run the command and the middleware is created, you now need to register the middleware. Now this type of middleware that I'm making is the global level type of middleware, whereby they will be applied on all the particular routes. So this is where I'm going to apply it to. So what I'm going to do here is that under the protected middleware, since I've said I'm doing a global one, I'm going to copy this one. So I'm going to copy this, and then from there let me click enter. And what I'm going to do here is that since I've created a class, okay, there's something I forgot to show you. Now within the middleware here, we already have now the test middleware.php, which creates a particular the file. Now from here is where you can start giving the logic for your middleware. That is under the particular file that you have created. So now here within the kernel.php, here is where I'm going to register this particular middleware. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to give the particular class of the middleware that I've created, and in my case I've named it as test middleware. It's already there. So now this is the particular class for the middleware that I have created. So that's how you do it. You register, the particular middleware. Now let's go back to the middleware class. Now from here is where you write your logic for the particular middleware. Now here I'm not going to do much of it, since it's just a demo intro to middleware. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to just give something like echo, and then remember this is a global middleware, so it's going to be applied on all pages. This page has middleware, for example. This is just an example. Let me just close that like that. So what is going to do is that every page that I navigate to is going to be applied on all the pages. So now let me run this again, PHP. I think the command is already still there. Okay, and let's check. So now once I navigate to the any page, as you can see, for example, the login page already have it says that, so this page will be having middleware in every particular page. Now this is the login page. For example, if I try to navigate to the registration page, it's also going to be applied on all. So now this is what we refer to as the global middleware. Now in another tutorial, we're also going to look at the logic of, for example, making a particular middleware based on a particular logic. For example, now when you navigate for example, to the documentation, so now you realize that when you're in this documentation, you see that for example, we have a logic for a particular middleware here which checks if the token is valid. So what here happens is that the request input token has to match a secret token that is within the database of the particular application. So if it doesn't match, the middleware will return or will redirect the client to the home. Now this is what we're going to look at as we continue. So this is where you can apply logic within your middleware, as you can see from what we have here in our particular test middleware, like this. Right. So now let me I was here. Now in my env I've given a database with a name. So let me just say this and let me register again this. All right. So now let me just create that particular database I've just made. So Laravel 8 like this, and I'm good to go. All right. So now here what I need to do here is that let me kill this server. So what I need to do here is that since I had already installed I've not run my migration, so PHP artisan migrate, so that I can run the migration like that. Now since this is successful, so now what I need to do here is that now I can register. Remember here I'm still in the registration, so already in my dashboard with the global middleware which is applied in every place. So now I'm in home. So the last thing here I would want us to do is to inspect these particular routes. So let me destroy this one. So I'm going to run a command here which says PHP artisan route and then list. So here I'm going to check, now I want us to check the routes, and that, in other words, the routes that the middleware has been applied to. Now as you can see here, we already have the particular routes. For example, we have the index, the home as well. Now you can see there's an authentication that is being applied to the index. Okay, this is the authentication. Let's go to the index, that is this particular resource. Now remember, this resource, as I talked about in the last tutorial, is about, it now authenticates all the That is the resource runs all the CRUD functionality, the index, the create, the store, and so forth. So you can see now here is that the particular authentication has been applied in all the particular pages. You can see there is the out here and the particular route like so. Same like in the all the particular other routes, the destroy, the create, and so forth. And then lastly, we also have the index that is within the user controller. It also has the particular authentication applied. So now this middleware will apply all the authentication to all the routes so that the person can be authenticated in your application. So that's it, guys, for this tutorial and for this video. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, and you will get more of these videos. So we're going to look at how to implement CSRF protection, which stands for cross-site request forgery. Now, what is CSRF? This is what we're going to look at in this tutorial. Now, CSRF stands for cross-site request forgery. It's whereby commands are performed on behalf of an authenticated user. In other words, what happens here is that the malicious user will want to lure any user to visit a website that is not the intended website in a web application. Now, in other words, here what happens is, for example, when someone is submitting a form, you'll be lured into another website so that instead of submitting to the right one, which may be happen to be your web application, you submit it to another application. So enough of the talking, so let me just get started. So what we're going to do here, we are going to make a form here. So I already have a form created here, so I'm just going to copy and paste. So this is the form. So what is happening here is that I'm having a form here which has the form section, the form action where it submits to. Then the method is post. Now post method is secure for submitting any form request. And then now we are using here the @CSRF. Now @CSRF, what it does is that it's going to generate a token that is going to verify that the authenticated user is the person that is actually making the request to your application. So what happens here is that a token is going to be generated. This token has to match a particular token that is already stored in the session. In other words, once you submit this form, a token will be generated. This token is used to match the token that is in the stored. Now when we go to, so let's go to this form, verify CSRF. Now once we go to this particular file here, you can register any particular token or any particular CSRF that you want to protect your file. So this is the file that you need to, we may do it on a global level, but what we are doing here already, we have already implemented it on the form. So this is what we are doing here. All right, so let's continue. So what we are doing here, we just have a simple form which has the user input and then the password and then the submit, like so. So let me just save this one. And then in the web, remember here, if you have watched the other tutorials, this one we're just getting the user and returning the index that is under the user controller. So we are just returning the view. So now what I want us here to return on the web, since this is a post, we are going to perform a post method here. So this is what we are going to do. So I'm just going to copy this one like this, and then let me just post it below. So what we are doing here is that we are going to the user, and then we are, instead of now performing the index, we're going to create another file here which we are going to call it, that is the post. So we are creating another file here, that is the post, that is we are going to control at post. So that means that here in the user controller, I'm going to create another index function. So let me just copy this one and let me paste it there. So what I'm doing here is that I'm going to have this one as the post function, and then this post function is going to have a request because it's taking in request. Okay, so this should be the request, and then okay, so we are performing the request there, as you can see. Now here, what we're going to do here, we are not going to return a view, but we're going to return, or we are going to return a requested input. That is, we are going to return the input that we are going to get from the form when a particular user fills the form. So it has to be, so that's, in other words, the form has to submit somewhere. So here we're going to have request, and then here we are going to have input. So this particular function is going to take the input and submit it to us. So that's what's happening here. So we are requesting the input data, and then we are receiving the input together with the token. So here we have just made the controller at post referencing this particular function, and then we are now receiving and posting the data. Now here I will not need to have it as such as the endpoint. So here I'm just going to have the user since, and then here we are not performing the get, but we are performing a post. So here we are just performing the post like this. So this is what's happening here. So we have our index page, and then once the person fills the details, it's going to be posted like this. So this is what is happening here. All right guys, so let's just check this and let's see. So I'm going to run PHP artisan serve. All right, so let me navigate to this URL. All right guys, so now we are presented with this particular page, so where we have the username and then a password. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to fill my credentials, and let's see how it works, and let me submit this form. All right, now you can see as once I submit the form generates a particular token. Now this is the token that is generated, and then this is now the particular that is my name, user, and then the password, as you can see. But now what I want you to get note of is this particular token. Now this token will be unique whenever this particular user fills any particular form in this web application. This particular token will be unique in terms of it has already been recorded and stored in a particular session so that it can be validated. So this is how Csrf works in my application. So remember what we have done. We have just created the route post, the controllers at post, and then the user blade. We have just created a particular form that submits with the method post, and then we have included. Now remember, at Csrf you can use at Csrf in particular ways. Now in another video I'll show you how to use Csrf in you can also have it, for example, within the name here. You can also have it within the header here, so it can be included in any way, but it will still work the same. However, this is the most common one that is used in many web applications. And then remember, here in the user control, what we have done is we have created a post function that handles the request. Now ensure this request is matching this one, because I had put this request in this way. So just ensure it's matching like that, since it is a variable. And then now we are requesting the input, which is now this what we are getting here, together with the particular token. So right, so this is the tutorial for this particular session. So let's meet in the next video. So subscribe if you haven't subscribed to this channel. Thanks guys for watching. Now in this tutorial we are going to look at HTTP responses, And in this tutorial, or in this video, this is what we're going to look at. We're going to look at responses, array, objects, redirect, return, will redirect back with input, redirecting to named routes, and as well as redirecting with flashed session data. So this is what we're going to look at in this particular video. Now, what is a response? Now, a response, you realize that all routes and controllers should return a response that is sent back to the user's browser. In other words, you need to have a particular, for example, when you look at this one, we have a response, we are returning a view user. We also have, for example, let's go to web.php. You can also see there is also, for example, there's also a return, hello world. This is also a response. So these are how responses work in Laravel, and we are going to dig a little bit deeper on this. So now when I run php artisan, so now once I run this, let's go to this particular endpoint, that is the greeting. So when I navigate to this, so now you realize that a string will be returned, which is a hello world. So now this is a response. So this is the first basic response that we get from Laravel when you run any particular project. So this is what we are starting from. All right. So the first one that we are going to start from is that we are going to look at, this is the first one we're going to start. We're going to look at responses array. Now, responses array deals with returning particular data within your application. Now, for example, we are just going to look at a basic example. So now let's go to the user's controller. Now, in the user's controller, this is what we are presented with. Now, for example, here we are returning the view user. So now let's say, for example, I want to return a particular array. So this is the basic way you can return an array from a particular. Now assume this is a data that you are returning. So having this in this format, you are returning the array in this particular way. Let me comment out this one. So now when you navigate to this particular URL, that is the user, so we are going to return a particular array of data, and this would be the first example. So now, for example, now when I go to user, I'm going to return this particular array of data. So this is how you start returning a particular array of data. Now this one can be, for example, a website like a blog or so forth, whereby you want to return particular posts and so forth, maybe in an array and all that. So this is how you start with arrays in Laravel. So this is just a basic example. Now let's look at responses objects. Now the response object is that you are returning a string from a route or controller. Now a basic example would be this. So let me just paste this code here. So here, what you can do here is that you are going to return a response. For example, website. Now this website, you are going to return it with this particular, you are going to request the content type, and then you are going to return it with the text, and it's going to be plain. So this is how it is. So you are able to return it with the website, and then the status, and then that is the URL, and then the text plain as this. So let's check this one. So what we expect here is something like this when we refresh the page. So you expect it to return the website with this particular URL. So it's just returning for us the header, the content type, with the text /plain. Now the next one that we are checking is the response, that is return redirect. Now return redirect is that, for example, you're able to return, it is simply redirecting a user to another URL. Now, in case instead of redirecting this one to hello world, instead of coming here to the hello world, I'm going to be redirected to user. So this is how this one functions. So what I'm going to do here is that let me save this one and run the particular. Now, for example, this is evident here. Let's do it here for this one. Let me save that. So what happens here is that instead of, now let's go to greeting. Now I should be returned with the hello world. That this is what we expect. But what is going to happen here is that we are going to be redirected to user. So guys, what you need to do here, sorry, this one should be like this, and then once we save, so let's go back to it again. So now once I refresh this one, it should redirect to the user. All right, so now this is what we are redirected. So instead of going to the /greeting, we are just redirected back to the user again. So this is how redirect with return redirect works. So now this is just the beginning. Now I've done a tutorial on how to make a Laravel blog using Csrf, where I have done all these particular functionalities. So now let's continue. Now the other one is return. The other one is return redirect back with input. So here we request to return with an input. Now, for example, when you go to the user controller, we have something like this. So now let me just comment this one out, the return with the response object, since I'm no longer using that one. So let me just return this one back again, like this. Let me save. Now what we are going to do here, the next one is we're going to redirect back with input. Now with input is very simple. For example, when you look at this particular function, it's the one that was returning a request input. That is when someone fills a particular when someone fills the form, and then we are presented back with the input. For example, you can have something like this. So you can have return back like this, and then we have that particular keyword, and then we have something like return with input, and then we have it like this. Now this is just a basic example on how to start using this. So here what will happen is that is still going to perform similar functionality. So we are not going to run this one, but this one is going to be more evident when you start making bigger projects, whereby you're going to return a particular data, and then you're going to request it to be returned, for example, with this particular data that you want in your website. So this is how it works. So you just give that particular function word, and then it's able to return it in that particular way. All right, guys. So now let's look at the next one, is redirecting to named routes. So now redirecting to named routes is very easy. What we are going to do here is that I just need to give a particular route, a particular name, and then, for example, let's say here, this is what we call named routes. For example, I'm going to give this one the name user. So this one depends, for example, with how you want it. It depends on the name that you want to give. For example, you want to get a particular route. Sorry, there should be a name here, like this. Should be this way. All right. So now this is the named route. So you're going to give the name, and then, for example, here, so that whenever you return this particular URL or this particular endpoint, then it's going to give the particular that is going to have the name that you have given it. So the name is going to be customized as you have given it in this particular named route. So that is how it works. So now we are looking at redirecting to named routes. Now, for example, since I've now named this one, I'm going to redirect to this particular and named route. So let me go back to my function, to my route greeting, whereby I have this return redirect. So I'm going to have something like this, return redirect. Then I'm going to give that brackets there, like this. So I'm going to have the route and then the user, and then just like that. So now what this means that since I have this route which is named, and then I've given return redirect route user, so now I'm going to be presented with this, so that once I run the greeting endpoint, which should be this one, so this is the one I should be presented with. So it's going to return me back to the user, which is the named one. All right, so now this is what we are returned with. So I'm just returned back to my user page, as you can see. So this is what we recall to, this is a basic example, a very basic, easy example for you to understand how to use redirecting to named routes. Remember, we have named this route and then we have redirected back. Now lastly, we are going to look at is the redirecting with flashed session data. Now with the flashed session data is also very easy. If you have checked some of my tutorial, like how to make a Laravel blog using Csrf, I've also done so much on this, whereby we have flashed session data and so forth. So let's look at it. So what happens here is that here you need to give, for example, there's always a predefined code that is able to take you into the, that is able to present, so that that particular flash data message can be shown within your website. Now let's look at it in an example. Now when you go to the documentation here in Laravel, now let's look at redirecting with flashed data. Now you find that there is this code here. Now this is what we present, so that the particular flashed message is going to appear within the particular place that you want. Now let me just copy this one like this, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to present it somewhere here, just above the header. So I'm going to have it there. Let me just push this aside. So this is now the message is going to appear on top of the particular place that you want it to appear. So I'm giving it like this, and then now when you look at their documentation here, now within your route you can return redirect, and then with the status message profile updated. So what you're going to do here, let me just copy that chunk of code and let me go to the greeting. So this is the place I would want to have the particular return redirect and so forth. Here I'm going to have redirect user, and then since we had copied this one, which I should copy again, so what I'm going to have here is that I'm going to have something like this. So I'm going to return this one. So I'm going to have redirect, then user, sorry, so this one I had to, should be like that. So I'm going to redirect the user back. So this named route, let me take it off. Let me say this one. So I'm redirecting the user with this particular status message. So let's check this, how it goes. So let me reload the page. All right guys, so now this is what we are presented with. So profile updated like this, and so it's appearing where you had indicated the particular flash session data, and this is where it is going to be flashed upon. So remember what we have done here, we have just given the return redirect user with status profile updated. So this is the last label we have checked at. So we have checked at the response array, whereby we returned the particular array within our user controller page. So here, so this is what we have done, returned the particular array. Now when you look at my Laravel block, you are going to get all this. We also checked response objects, whereby we return this particular URL with this particular status code with a content type and text plain. So just returning a particular object within your application, and then redirecting back with the input and as well named routes, and then lastly flashed session data. So if you have any question, post them in the comment section and I will follow up with you. If you have not subscribed, subscribe to this channel. So today we are going to look at blade templates in this particular video. So now the first thing I would want us to do is that I want us to change some files as we begin. Now what is a blade template? Blade template can use plain PHP code. In other words, they can be combined to a plain PHP code, and as well they can be modified. So you find that blade templates are the ones that you use. For example, I've created, for example, user.blade.php, post.blade.php. Now these are the blade templates. That is their extension files, and that's how they are normally written. Now they can be found in the resources/views directory. So that is under the views. You can see here. So once I click the views, that is under the resource, then the views, and then now you can find your blade templates. Alright, so let's get started. Now, if you have been following this particular series, you realize this is the place that I've reached so far. So now this is a blade template that is just returns a particular HTML markup and this particular form, just like this. So what I want us to do, I want us now to explore blade templates in this particular video. Now what we're going to do here, the first thing I want us to do is to change the app.blade.php so that it can start extending our files. Now when you go to, there's a file here called layouts, which is found under the views, and then the resources, the views, and then the layouts. So here there's a file that is that is named as app.blade.php. Now this file is the one that extends the authentication, that is the login and the registration, as you can see here. So what I want us to do, I want us to rename this particular file into something like this, function f2. So I'm going just to rename this file to out.blade.php like this. And then since we have now changed this one, what we need to do is that is look for registration, login and registration. So let me just go to Control P. Let me go to login. This is the file. So you can see here it extends the layouts.app. Since we have changed it to out, so I'm going now to change this to out so that we don't miss this particular file. So like that, let me save. Control P, let me look for the other one, registration. Right now this is the file, so let me just change to out.php. Let me save that. Now since we are done with those, so let me just take them out. So now what I need to do here, I need to create another file here. So here I need to create another file, same, but now this one is going now to extend my blade templates. So that is it. So that is app.blade.php. Now what I'm going to do here, this is now how you start making your website in Laravel if you are still new. So this HTML markup could be your navbar, could be your just the way you may have your front-end website. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take this one out. So I'm going to take that one out, and I'm going to place it here like that. As well, this one is unique for this particular blade template, but let me take out the reason as to why I'm doing this is that it's, let's say for example you have like 10 blade templates and they are extending the same HTML markup, so you realize that they will all have the same HTML markup, so you don't need to repeat all of them in particular in every blade template. So this is how this occurs. So alright, so let me just save this one and let me just leave it like that. So now what I need to do here now is that I will now need to go to this particular blade file, and then the first thing I want to do is to extend this file, that is extends the layouts app dot app. So it's going to extend it like that. So this is how we do it. So now since it is extending this particular file, now I want to yield this content so that I get still to have this particular content as well. For example, I also have another blade template file. Now see this one, I'm also going to do the same thing. Now what I need to do here is that I need to take this one out, and as well I also need to take this one out since they are already in the app blade.php. So what I'm going to do here, I'll just copy this one like that, and then I will also have to put it there like that. So now the next thing I will want to do here is that I will have also to extend this as the section. So this is the content of the section. So this is how we do it in Laravel. So the section content, this is going to be the section content, and then I'm going also to end it. So we have something like this. So alright, so that's how it is. So let me just separate that one. So now this is a section content like that in your blade template. So the same thing I'm going to use, I'm also going to do to this one as well. Let me copy the end section and let me save this one. Let me give a space there. So that's how it is like that. Now what I need to do here, since now I'm extending this particular section here, the section content, what I need to do, I need now to heal this particular content within somewhere here within the body. So under within your app blade.php, now what you need to do, you need to have something like this. You have something like at healed, that is healed content, sorry, so this should be healed content like so. So that's how it's going to be. So now I'm healed in this content, which should be the one that is within this section blade, and this one, that is, in other words, this is the content I'm healing for all the particular blades. So if you have 10 blades, it's going to be applied, you know, the sections are going to be healed as such. PHP. So let's open this application and let's see. So now when I go to this particular URL /user, I should be presented with the same content we had before. Now as you can see here, we still have our login and registration page, so they haven't been lost, since remember we have changed the extension, but they are still the same. So let me just input here. So now we still get the same page like this. So nothing has changed. Welcome to your user page, as we expected from our blade. All right, so now let's continue. Now the first thing I want us to do is that since now we are looking at blade templates, so let's start from somewhere. So now the first thing I would want to do here is that I want us to look at the first thing, and the first thing here I want us to look at is how to display data in your blade template. So that's what we are starting from. So display data. Now how can you display data in any Blade template? Now when you look at their documentation here, you can see displaying data is very easy. Something like displaying data, you can have something like in your route controller here, that is in your route, sorry, you can return a view, and then you can return the view with a name, for example, and then in your Blade template you may have something like a hello name. So now if, for example, I copy that one and let me just paste here, so you can have something like a hello name, and then now within your, for mine I'm going for the controller but not the route, so I'm having return view and then I'm returning the view user. So here what I may need to do here, for example, just like we saw in this particular, so let me say let me just copy that one. So I'm returning something here like, so I'm returning, for example, let me change here to my name, Brian, let's say, for example. So I'm returning the view, so the view here, I'm returning my view here, that is view user, like that, and then it has the name Brian, like that. So now within the Blade template here, so I'm going to have hello and then the variable name. So now this is just simply a PHP, that's simply, now you're simply playing around with the PHP within your Blade template. As we have said that a Blade templates, they are compiled or they can be written with plain PHP code in Laravel. So here, once I save this and run again, that is so we are going to have hello Brian. So that is the first thing, or that's the start from our Blade template. Now let's go to something else. Now within this one, within the display data, we may also have something like this. So let me just copy this one and paste it there. So we have something like get data, from database, like that. So here I'm going to get data from the database. So what you're going to do is that you're going to use the users table that comes defaultly with Laravel. That is once you run your PHP migrations. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to use the concept of the for else, which can be written within your Blade templates. Now within your Blade templates you can have if statements, you can have for statements, and many other types of statements you may have. Display data should be, this one should be here, that one should be there, like that, so that now we can have get display data from the database. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to have a statement like this. So I'm going to have for else, and then here I'm going to have the variable users, like that, as user, in this way. And then here I'm going to get the name of the user and the email in the database. So here I'm going to have an li. Now this li will have this brackets. So what I'm going to do here, that is, I'm going to get the name like that, and then close this one that way. So let me just copy this one and paste it there. So this one I'm going to change it to email, like that. So this is what I'm doing. So I'm getting the user email and the user, the name and the user. Now if there is no a name or an email, I'm going to have another statement here which says if it's empty, then return for the user or the person within your website, no users within that particular page, like that. So that's how it's going to, and since we started at 4 else, you're also going to end, also going to have an end, that is like that. So it's going to loop over the both, and then it's going to check if there is name or the email, and if they are not, it's going to return empty, no users. Now since I'm referencing a database here, I also need to go to my controller and edit something. So within the user controller here, within the index page, since I'm returning the view user, I'm going to have something like this. Now this is eloquent within Laravel, and maybe we shall discuss this as we continue. So I'm going to have something like users, as then it's going to check the user model like that, and then I'm going to get all the users within the database. So what we are doing here, we are going to users table, then we are using the user model. So that is the okay, let me go to control P and get, all right, so it's there. So you can see now this is defaultly within Laravel. Now this one is the one that registers within your database, the name, the email, the password. Now we are going to look at this one as we continue. So what we are going to do here, we are referencing this particular model, and then we are calling the name, the email, and the password within our controller, and then now we are returning all the users likewise. Now for it not to say undefined variable and so forth, here we are also going to have something else here. So I'm going to give here compact. So I'm going to have it that way, compact users, so that the users can be, so that there cannot be any undefined variable. I think here there is sorry, this should be like that. I think we are good to go. Now, so this is done. So let me save this one and let's see if this is going on well. So let me refresh this again. So we're having an error here, that is this class is not found within your Laravel. So we need to import that class within your Laravel app. So what I need to do here is that within your users, I need to connect. Now since I'm using a model that is the user.php, what I need to do here is that I need to have something like use, that is app slash models slash the user, so that it can locate the particular user like that. So we are now going to app models, and then now we are locating the user.php, which happens to be this particular file. You can see the URL as it is, so that this error may go away. Now I'm also having another error here, expecting this one. So let's just check. So within the user blade, so I think here there's an error to do with this one should also be, it should be the variable used like this, and let's check. So users as user and so forth. So remember, it's a variable within the users table like so. So let's reload this. All right, so we are good to go, and so we have hello Brian, and then now we have, it returns for us the name, that is the name Brian, and then the email that is within my database. So far this is what we have within the database. All right, so now we can get this one. Now if they were not there, it could have returned the second option, which is empty, no users, like that. So now let's check something else. Now you can also check, for example, if a particular user is authenticated within your particular application. So this is what we check next. So here we are going to check if user is authenticated or not. So what we can do here, it is simple in Laravel 8. So what we're going to do, we are going to have out. So I'm going to have like that, and then I'm going to have a statement like the user is authenticated, just a statement like that. and then we are going to have at end out like that. So we are checking if the person is authenticated or not. And then another one we're also going to check is that if the person is a guest, likewise. So here we're going to paste like that, and then now this one you're going to change to something like guest like that, and then we're going to end this one in this way, so like that. So at end guest, it should end that way. So if the user is not authenticated, this one is going to have the user is not authenticated. So it's now this blade is going to run the two statements, and it's going to check if the person is authenticated, then it will show you. If not, then it will show you this person is not authenticated. So let's compile this and see. So you can see now it returns the statement that the user is authenticated, since I'm already signed in with these particular credentials. You can see here the name, the email, and so forth. So this is how you begin exploring your blade template. Now let's check another one here. Let's continue. Remember, we are on the blade template, so we are just exploring different things you can do within your blade template. So here we are going to have using if statement. All right, so using if statement. So here I'm going to have a logic like this. I'm going to check how many users are within my database. So far we know we only have one user, but I'm going to use an if statement to check how many users do I have within my database. So I'm going to have something like if count, and let me use the user variable like that, and then I'm going to have something like this. So this should be users. So this one is going to reference the database there, and then it's going to check how many users are there within the database. So here I'm going to have something like this. If the users within my database are equal to 1, then here I should have something like this. I should print I have 1 user, or else. So here we are going to go to the else if count. So remember, count is a PHP function. So I'm going to have else if count users, they are greater than 1, that is within the database. So if they are greater than 1, I'm going to have it something like I have multiple users like that, or else I don't have any users, likewise. So I'm going to end this particular statement like that. So this is what is happening. So I'm going to check if the users are equal to 1, then I have 1 user. If they are greater than 1, then here else if. So I'm going to have a else if statement that is going to check if I have more than 1 user. That is, if I have more than 1 user, then I'm going to return this particular statement, else I don't have any users. So this is what is happening. So let's check within. So the statement that is returned is that I have 1 user, since it's only Brian who is currently within my database. So this is how you continue using statements within your blade template. All right. Okay, so now that is some of the introduction within your blade templates and how to get started using blade templates. So now the last thing I want us to look at is how to use the include files within your templates. Now include files could be, for example, I want to include a navbar within my website. So my website can have a navbar likewise. So since I already have a customized navbar, you can get a navbar from anywhere. So I'm going to use a navbar here just to illustrate something. I'll now to use @include files within your blade templates. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to create an includes files. Now this include file is going to have a blade template. So within your views here, I need you to create a folder here. This folder, rename it @includes. And now within the folder, I'm going to create a navbar.blade.php. Alright, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to copy a navbar that I already have so that we can get started. So now this is the navbar that I'm having, so I'm just going to paste it like that. So this is just a customized navbar, but you can get any navbar of your choice. So I'm just having this particular navbar. So what I'm going to do here is that now once this is done, I'm going to have something like this. Now within your body here, I'm going to have something in this way. So I'm going to have include, that is ing. Remember now this is the one that we have in here, include, and then .navbar like so. So this is what I'm having. So I'm including this particular navbar here, that is that include folder, and then the navbar like so. And then let me just save this. So what happens here is that it's going to appear on top of our web page. So since we have already created a navbar here under the views, and then we have created a folder, the navbar, and then now we have it on the app blade.php. So now this is going to be extended on all the particular blades so far. All right, so this is how we get started. So let's let me renew. Sorry, there's an error here. Undefined constant includes. I think I forgot to put we need to have quotation marks here like that, and then save it again, and let me refresh this. So now I'm having the navbar. So now the navbar is here, but as you can see, there is no particular styling. So what I need to do here is that since I'm using Bootstrap within the navbar, as you can see, this is the navbar here. So it's using the Bootstrap. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to copy a CDN, that is Content Delivery Network, so that I can use the Bootstrap within my application. So what I need to do here, I already have a CDN that is copied, so I just need to paste it like that, and then I'm good to go. So what this does, I've just gotten it from the website, that is the Bootstrap. So that is once I control click. So now this is the particular Bootstrap CDN that, as I was saying. So what I need to do here, let me just take that one out. So now since we have already imported it, and it's this one, so let me just save that website like that. Okay, so this is done. So let me refresh this page again. All right, now you can see now the navbar is there, and it is also responsive, but we are not dealing with the front end. So now this is what is there. So the navbar is presented just like we did. So remember what we did here, we created a folder, and then a blade, which is the navbar blade, and then we created it, and then we included it within our app blade.php. So this is how we go about using them @includes within Laravel. So what we have done in this tutorial, we have looked at the blade template, whereby we reorganized this one to extend the layouts.app, and as well we started by displaying data, getting data from the database, whereby we ran the loop over the users table within the database to get the name and the email, which you can see here like so. and as well we also checked if the user is authenticated or not. In our case, the user is authenticated. And then we also did the if statement, whereby we checked the number of users within the table, within our table. In our case, it's only one user here. So guys, this is the tutorial for today. So let me catch you in the next tutorial. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, subscribe, and if you have any question, post them in the comment section and I'll follow up with you. Let's meet in the next tutorial. So in this video, we are going to look at how to implement validation in Laravel 8. So this is what we're going to look at, Laravel validation, in this particular video. So let's get started. So what is validation? Validation is simply, when you look at the documentation here, you can see that validation includes, for example, you're validating your applications, that is incoming data. So you can do this through the HTTP requests that are made within your application, and Laravel highly provides ways of you to validate your application. So it gives you the particular rules that you may apply to any data so that you may validate your application in one way or the other. So let's get started. So what I would like us to do here is that I want us to update the postblade.php, and this is what we're going to look at. So in other words, we're going to create a kind of a blog that we are going to validate the create. That is, when you create a post, the post is going to be validated and so forth, like that. So this is how we are going to look at. You can also check in their documentation, they have a good example. For example, we are going to create a post just like you see here, and then now we are going to use a particular method to validate this particular post, maybe the title and any other particular input fields. So you can see here, request to validate the title, the body, publish that. So this is what we are going to look at in this particular tutorial. So now in the postblade, what I want us to do here, we already have an h1 tag that returns the particular heading that you can see. So what I want us to do here is that I'm going to have, now since I'm using Bootstrap as the front end, so I'm going to have div class, and this is going to have card body, like that. So this card body is going to have a table. So this is going to be table, and then this is going to be table, and then the table is going to be bordered like that, and then let us give it a padding of MB0, like that. And then here I'm going to have, in other words, we are simply creating a table that is going to register this particular post here. So I'm having that one. So here now, okay, so that is the row, and then now the table header. So let me create the table header, that the th scope equal to the, so under the column here I'm going to have the title. Alright, so now let me just copy and paste this. So here I'm going to have the title created by, not created at. So that's how it is, and let me just close this one, that is the TA, and then sorry, this is okay, let me close that one as well, that way. And then since this is we're going also to close the body of the table. So now that is our table, as you can see. Alright, so now this is how it is. Once we are done with this one, we're going to have a post ID, a post title, and a post username. That is the person who creates the particular post. So what I want us to do here is that I want us to create a table. We are going back to this again. So let's just create a table that is going to, so I'm going to create the post table for my application. So I'm going to run this particular command here. So PHP artisan make migration, create post table. Now this post table is the one that we are going to use so that we can start creating our post. Now once this is done, what you're going to do here is that now let me navigate to the post table that have been created. So the post table, so let me just click enter. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to update the post table like this with this particular code. So what I'm doing here is that I'm getting the user ID, the title of the post, and then the body. Now the user ID should be the person who is logged in the application. So this is what we are doing here. We have the post table, and then the user ID, the title, and the body. So let me save that one. Now the other thing here that I'm going to do is that I'm going to create the post model that is for the particular table that we have created. Now this is the model that is going to help us to link, that is to register the particular credentials of our post table in the database. So here I'm going to run a command here that says PHP artisan, and then the name of this model is going to be post like this. Now once that is done, let's navigate to the post.php. So now this is the one that is going to help us to register the particular, that is under the user. It's going to connect to the users with the post table, and then we are going to create the particular table. That is, our table is going to be filled. Now here I'm going to have this particular function here. It's going to be protected fileable like that, and then within the protected fileable, I'm going to fill with what I need here. For example, I need the title, so I'm going to fill here the title like that, and then we're going to have the body of the post like so. The next thing here, since we are going to have a user that is going to be creating the particular post once it's logged into the application, so we want to establish a particular relationship between the user and the post is creating. So we are going to have public function user here, and then within the public function user, I'm going to have something like return. So whereby we are going to say belongs. So you're going to have something like that, belongs to your user class in that way. Now what here we establish in here is that a particular, in other words, the statement means that a particular post belongs to a user that way. So that is the relationship here. We are establishing the relationship. Once the protected fillable will fill our table data database, then we are established in this particular connection. Now what I want us to do here, I want us to go back to the, since now we have created the table, we can now run the, we can also run the migration so that we can migrate what we have created already. This should be PHP artisan migrate like that. So PHP artisan migrate. Right. Now once this is done, so what I'm going to do here, let me go back to the post.blade.php, so where we had created this particular that is, we had created the title, the body created by. So here I'm going to update it with this particular code here. Now what this code does is that I'm going to loop over the post, and then that is the ID, the title, and then the username. Now just like the way we had created it here, but now I'm using the for each so that I can loop over the post within the database. So I get the ID of the post, the title, and then the username just like this. So this is what is going to be happening within this particular page. Now here, go to your resources, views here, and here I would like you to create a folder here that is called post, like that. Now if you have checked my Laravel blog using JStream, I've done same thing. That's why I'm just not repeating some of the things that I've done. You can check that particular video. So here within the post folder, I'm going to create another file here, and I'm going to rename it create.blade.php, like that. Now within this file, that is the create.blade.php, so I'm going to update it with this particular code here. So what this code does here is that it's only doing this thing. It's only going to establish the creating the post. So we are using Bootstrap, and then now we are going to create the post by opening our file, that is our HTML file within Laravel, and then going to the post.store, and then we are going to validate the title. So you can see the validation classes, as you can see them here. That is if there is any error, like this, and then the body, and then we are now creating the particular post. Now, so what we are going to do here now is that let me save this file. So now this means that if we are routing this to post.store, we need to have a post.store within our post controller. So now let's go to the post controller here. So under the post controller here, so I'm only returning the index, as you can see here. Now I don't want to, let me update it to something like this. So what I'm going to have here, I'm going to have post like this equals to the post model. Now I'm going to order this post. I'm going to have something like order by the ID, and then as well as descending, that is, so I'm going to order them by ID, and then I want them to descend, and then I'm going to use that particular function keyword in Laravel, that is get, so that I may get this particular post. Now here I'm returning the view post, but since I do not want undefined variable, so what I'm going to have here is that I'm going to have the compact statement, so that it can ensure that the post that is the posts are defined, that is within the view that we are returning. And now this is how it's going to be in that particular section. Now the other section here is that since now we have the create blade that is creating the particular post, as you can see. So what I would like to do here is that within the public function create, I'm going to have return, in other words, I'm going to return a view here, and this view is going to be post.create, like that. So that's what we are going to have in that particular. So now the other one is the store. Now remember, this is the CRUD functionality in Laravel. If you have watched the earlier video that is on routing, I did this on how to create a post controller with a resource which comes with this CRUD functionality, that is the index, the create, the store, the show, the edit, and the update, as well as destroy. So this is now what enables you to create, for example, a blog or any CRUD application. So now in the store is where we are going to have the posts are going to be validated, and then now they are going to be created in this particular function. Now to save time, guys, I would not want to make this video longer. So what I would like to do here is that within the public function store, I'm going to have this particular code here. Now within this code, what I'm doing here is that, remember we are dealing with the Laravel validation. So what I'm doing here is that I'm validating the title. I'm also validating the body. Now you can read more on this on the documentation here, form request validation. It's very easy, the code is already there, and I'm also going to post this particular code in GitHub. So we are only validating the title, the body, And then here we are also using another function whereby we are going to say if the person doesn't fill the title, this is going to be flashed, enter the title and enter the body. So this is simple validation within Laravel. And then here we are going to have a message that is going to flash. Remember, we dealt with the flash in another video, so we dealt with this one. And then now we are going to return the direct route post index. Now post index is the one that we have just created right now, where we are returning the post. We did the post model, and then we are getting the ID, sending, and then we are returning the view post, which should be this one that we had already created here, whereby we have the posts that are being looped over like this. So that's what we are doing. And then another thing I'd like you to observe is that this function word, now this one creates the particular post that we need. So this is the responsible for creating the post, and then now we are authenticating the person who is creating the post. He must be logged in likewise. So now once you save this one, will be good to go. Okay, there's an error here. I think should be having one. I think so. Yes. Then we are good to go. So that's how it is. So now let me save this. Now I've already created. Now when I go to my .env file here, I've already created a database here, which is Laravel 8 within my XAMPP. So that is PHP my admin. So it is already created. So if you haven't created, you need to create a database here like that, and then we are good to go. And then now we already have our table. So now since this is done, and then we already have the create blade. Now the last thing I want us to do here is that I want us, now you can see here, probably some of you are wondering what is this. Now this is HTML Laravel collective form that comes with Laravel. So now once you run this particular command, let me just clear here. Now once you run this particular command, composer require Laravel collective HTML. So let me run this one. Is going to install this a form that is going to install the Laravel collective HTML that is going to enable us to use a particular form like this one within Laravel. So this is what happens here. So this one will just take a minute. So what I would like to do here, before I run this particular project, now I do not want to encounter some errors here. So I need to have this particular commands here. Let me just So now here we have the app models post, and then we have the out, and then the session. Now these ones, they need to be there because they are classes. For example, the post, this is going to connect to the post model here, as you can see in this particular. So you can see the URL here. So we need to have this connected so that we can use this. And then we also need to have the facets authentication session, because we are using the authentication within my application, as you can see here. So now let me save this particular application, and let me save. Now remember, I have XAMPP, that is I'm using XAMPP. So here let me run this application. So PHP artisan XAMPP. So let me open the application. So I'm going to this URL /post, since where is where we have created our post. So here so let me just log in quickly. Alright guys, so now this is what we are presented with, but there's a problem here. As you can see, our table is appearing on top instead of being here. Now this should be an issue with that is, let's go to create.blade. Now within the create.blade, I need to extend just like you can see here. So now let me copy this, and so I need to have this like this. So I need to have it that way, and then I also need to end it. Now you can see I did not also end this one, so I think that should be there. So I need to end this like end section. So let me just copy this and paste it within, also within the create post.play.php. So like this. So now let me save this and also save this, and let's see if there is going to be a change. Oops, there's an error here. So I think okay, now here we are ending a section here, but I'm also seeing that we are also ending another one here. So since we updated this one, in other words, we have added more code, so the end section should be here. So let me just save that one, and let me refresh this. So here we are good to go. So we have the title, the body, and then created by. So this is good to go. Now this is the one that is showing what we have created. Now let's navigate. Remember, now here you need to realize we created something here. We already have a function that is returning the post.create. We created the post.create here within that is in the resources, then the views, and then here we have this particular blade here, which is within the folder post. So what I'm going to do here is that for us to be able to create, I'm going to navigate to now this one /post and then create like that. So this is what we are presented with when you go to post/create. So what I would like us to do here is to create a post. So let's say this is like blog 1, like that, and let's click create, and let's see. So now this one should be able to create for us the post, as you can see now. So now the page that is returned is this is the blog post. Now so this is now the post, this is now the page, sorry. So this is the page, this is the blog page for the post, and then now you can see the table and then the posts that have been looped over, and then now we are now presented with this, the title, the body, and the blog. Now remember, this is not what I intended to show you. So here let's go back to /create like that. Now here let's say, for example, I give so this is the body of the post like that. Now let's say I don't fill the title. Now this is where the validation comes in. Remember, within the post controller, whereby we had explained on we need to have the title required, and then there should be unique post with a maximum character of 255. Now if you don't fill, this is the particular message that will be flashed, and then that is like, for example, enter the title and so forth. So this is what happens. So let's try and check. So when I click the create button here, it will give me this particular validation statement, that is I should enter the title as well. If I did not fill the title, let's say I fill the title here and then I don't add the body like that, and let's click create. So I'll be returned back, enter the body, and so forth. So this was my intention of this tutorial, to show you how validation works within Laravel 8. Now you can read more on it and you can try to see how it is done. That is, you can expand on it, but now this is the starting point on how to validate particular validate post and anything. For example, an e-commerce, any particular website that you create, you need to have validation within that website. So now this could be the back end of any particular user, and then maybe it's now creating a particular post as such. So what have we looked at? So we have looked at the post.blade, whereby we have updated it with a particular table. This is just a bootstrap table. You can check their documentation for more. And then we have used the for each to loop over the post within the table, within the post table. That is the post ID, the title, and the username, and then ending the for each. And then we already had this controller from the earlier tutorials. So this is the post controller with the resource, whereby we went to the model and then we order the post ID and descending like that. Now, for example, let's say, let me create another post. Let me click enter like that. It's now, as you can see here, we have the ID, and then they are now in a descending way. So we have 1, 2, like that. So now if they were being presented, for example, in our home page, the post would appear in a descending order. That is from the latest to the least latest. So that's how it is. So this is how this statement is working. So guys, this is the tutorial for today. So we have checked how to use Laravel validation, and in the easiest way possible. So if you have any questions regarding this tutorial, post them in the comment section below, and I will follow up. And subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed, and let's meet in the next video.